was a typo, and I'm like, welcome Under Two Capes. I'm Jared. I'm here with Robert. What's up, everybody?
Hey, how's it going?
And today we are doing a members panel. So again, if you guys become a member at any tier, you guys should have the link. I think I sent that out in a community post. You should have access to that, or if you're in the Comics League members Twitter group chat. But yeah, so we're just gonna hang out, talk about any random stuff. So let's start off with Dan Slott's writing a Superman book.
An ongoing Superman book, but not the Superman. I kind of saw that coming, I'll be honest.
It makes sense because Williamson is doing well enough. So it would be stupid to like say, okay, you're off the book now.
Yeah.
But it is kind of cool to see like the summer of Superman that like someone other than Batman is getting the push finally.
Yep, that's one of the good things about the movie coming up.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too. And that's probably why they decided let's do it in the summer.
Yep, exactly. You have that. And I gotta say, Slott, I know people are gonna be pissed off about this, but I have no problem.
I think he could do a good job. At the least, let me put it this way, at the worst, it's going to be meh. I don't think it will be bad.
No, and I'll say this. Spider-Man was a case of he was a fanboy who was given way too much control. Way too much freedom and everything. Hey, Cameron. And everything. Way too much. And he was able to go off the rails with that. Whereas, and Marvel editorial being what it is, just let him do it. Whereas here, we know DC editorial has been able to bring the best out of most Marvel writers coming on over. Bendis being one exception, but let's be honest, the contract basically forced the editor's hands.
That was such a stupid contract.
It was. It was the only way to get him over.
I know, but it's like he has total control over Superman. I'm like,
so we know Slott's not going to have that. Remember, it's not the main book, so he's not going to have that much luxury.
Yeah, it's not like he's going to be... I wouldn't be surprised if it's not even in continuity.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Here's why I'm a little concerned about that.
The
Kryptonite meteor hitting Earth, because that's something that like then every book has to acknowledge.
Well, again, it sounds like it's something that's going to be happening in the books coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's dealing with the fallout. Because notice it said after the meteor hit. That's not like some of you would see it for the solicitations or the hint of for the second issue, not the first.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we don't know the solicitations yet, though.
Well, what? Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what that looks like. But overall, it's interesting. It's something I kind of saw coming. I figured Slott would write Superman at one point because he tweets a lot about Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like you and I have said a few times on the show, Robert, is like DC is very much more
about the characters.
And they're more like protective of the characters in terms of editorial, except unless if you're Wonder Woman. Cameron says, so Dan Slott is writing Superman. I don't know if I should be hyped to a phrase. We don't know if it's going to be canon or Elseworlds. Let me put it this way. I think Slott is going to do a good job. I'm going to tell you that right there.
Definitely. I think he's definitely going to do a good job. And I'm positive it's going to be more of a canon thing. You know what I mean? Because that's something, it just feels that way. You know what I mean? It just feels Spider-Man Unlimited and all that. Superman Unlimited with Raphael Albuquerque, which is funny. You know, he was meant to be the artist for Absolute Superman, right?
Yeah.
But he did a lot of designs.
It is also kind of interesting how DC is going all in on like all this unlimited marketing, like Justice League Unlimited and then Superman Unlimited.
Well, Justice League Unlimited made sense because they already had that name long ago. Finally using it. Yeah,
exactly. I'm surprised the Justice League books never took the Unlimited name before Mark Waid came on.
That's true. But
that seems like a layup.
Now, okay, here's what it says. A massive extinction-level kryptonite asteroid showers Superman's greatest weakness. That tells me it got destroyed and showers it everywhere.
So it could be they're kind of revisiting basically that concept from Public Enemies, except they're like following it through.
Well, they did. Technically, there was kryptonite everywhere, but the only time it got resolved was in Superman Batman, which by that point was quasi-canon after Loeb.
Yeah.
Because if you know that after Loeb, everything after Loeb, the canonicity of Superman Batman was always...
Yeah, exactly. But it's more like we're going to see more of like a larger effect of the kryptonite.
Exactly. And it's the case of it being frequent, like anyone can use it again. And to be fair, they haven't used kryptonite in quite a long time.
What concept, Jared? I meant in terms of like the kryptonite meteor and stuff.
And also the fact that there's now going to be a merger with the Daily Planet and Galaxy Communication.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be like explored in this, and so
that tells me that is canon. That does sound like that is canon.
Yeah. So it could be something good. So I'm gonna give. It. The only puts way Slot at least is like a little bit more of the okay. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
I'll say this, they actually do compare it to Superman Batman. So I think this is more going to be like Superman Batman was to the other lines. It's important, but it's more telling big stories and everything.
Yeah. It really, in terms of like it being referenced in the other books, it's going to depend when this takes place. Because if it takes place before everything, then... Yeah, but I found out. So yeah, Wade confirmed, by the way, that like Justice League is the main book, and like everything goes to there.
Exactly, obviously.
Which is not the way it's always been. Where like Justice League is like the main, is like the book that takes place
depending
now.
Depending on the run, depending on the creative team. If there's a main big creator involved, then yes. If it's not, I mean, look what happened after Snyder's run between that and Death Metal, where you had a couple of runs in between. Most of those were quasi-canon at best.
Exactly. Kirby says DC is making a Hush 2. Yes, they are.
Yep, they're making a Hush 2.
They released a trailer for that, and it's coming out in March. I am so excited for that.
Now, here's the big thing I'm wondering, though. A lot has happened with Hush since, in the in-between time. Is Loeb actually going to reference it? Or is he going to ignore it?
Chances are, since I think he'll only reference his stuff.
Then that's not fair to Dini.
True.
Dini did so much to expand the character and everything. And if they're going to do it like, oh, that's not been Hush at all, that's not right.
I mean, we'll see, but it depends on like the direction they go in, and obviously. It's the same thing like Tom King's Wonder Woman. It just depends on what the story is and what the writer wants to reference. That's really it.
That is true. But by the way, did you hear about Mark Russell is working on another Wonder Woman follow up to Superman Space Age and Batman Dark Age?
I'm buying that book.
Hey, after going over Superman Space Age, yeah.
Yep, I'm buying that book. That series is so good.
Isn't it funny that Mark Russell's gone from the person that a lot of fans were like, who's this guy, to, oh, he's too political, to being he actually rings himself in more than people give him credit for.
Yeah, probably. Kirby says, I thought Hush was abandoned after the DCAMU movie. Why would Hush be abandoned after that movie?
What? Why?
Yeah, why would that be abandoned?
Hush has already been used. Granted, yes, but that's mostly because a lot of that was New 52 threw him in off almost everything, and most people don't know what to do because aside from Lady Hush, have they done much with Hush since New 52?
Not really. But by the way, so you know what else I saw today? The new season of Harley Quinn started.
Nah.
And it's kind of cool because she goes to a Superman museum and you see all of his costumes like New 52. I heard it was extreme. The movie was hated, but the comic wasn't.
And the comic wasn't, and that would not affect Hush in the slightest.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't like live action movies and their influence on the comics. The animation area likely won't affect the comics.
Especially when that was part of the DC animated movie universe of that time.
And it was near the end of the DC animated movie universe. At that point, they knew it was ending.
I don't know if at that point they knew.
That's what Sam told me.
By Hush?
Yeah. It was around that time period because they had like a bunch of different movies planned that around this time period. They said,
it was probably towards the end of production of Hush, then, not when they started it.
No, but it was around that time period when they're like, okay, let's just you have to end this and move on.
Right. So all right, but yeah, that wouldn't affect anything.
Yeah. Again, people are assuming that because the live action stuff affects the comics that it's going to that the animation will. The animation won't, because the animation does not make like the money that the live action movies do.
It's usually the other way around. They're usually more hogtailed to the comics.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like, if anyone would be like more attuned to the way the comics were, unless of course you have writers that when you get to Hush are like, yeah, we wanted to change it because you know what the plot is. Then I'm like, then don't adapt Hush.
I don't get that.
That was their reasoning, Robert, by the way. They were like, because you know what the story is.
I get when some people go along that type of stuff. Okay, and Cameron, I can kind of agree with Cameron there a bit.
Yeah, because here's the problem. Here's the thing about that. The companies are operating under the, I'm going to say this, false assertion, because it is largely false, that everyone that goes and sees like a Marvel movie or a DC movie rushes to the comic book store. And if they see something that's slightly different from the screen, they'll go, I'm not going to read this. And I'm like, no, that's not the way this works.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll be honest, though, it also does lead. I think that's why I'll say it. I think that was why there was some resentment among some to Zach, because they were worried the Snyderverse could influence the comics.
Well, that's true.
Unfounded. I'm just saying, though, sometimes depending on who's in charge or calling the shots, they may try that, and that can lead to problems.
Yeah. By the way, so that's an interesting story, because Snyder did get me into Superman. It's just what happened is later, because once I was like, I like Superman, I went back and I read like all of his stuff. So yes, it can be a gateway. 100% these movies can be a gateway, but it's not. But I didn't expect DC Comics itself to reflect everything Zach was doing.
Here's what they should do. They just put a good story out alongside a movie. Nothing else. In fact, you know they did that with the Batman movie? They just put out some good Batman stories, like Mudpack.
Yeah. Or it's like with the Batman, they were just like, here are the comics that influence this. If you want to read that, fine.
That's better. Doing that is even better.
They're doing that with James Gunn's Superman. They're releasing a box set that has the comics that influenced it.
Mm-hmm.
DC AMU is still going on in my heart. Mine too. I enjoyed most of those movies. Cameron says people knew what caused Flashpoint, but the animated movie is still beloved, and Hale is one of their greats. It kind of is, except for what it did to Wonder Woman. But besides that, it was pretty decent.
To be fair, Flashpoint did that to Wonder Woman anyway.
If you read the tie-ins, it didn't do that.
Okay, if you just go by the main mini.
Main mini, again, she was constantly telling Arthur, we're being manipulated. We have to stop fighting.
Fair enough. Just people, I know some people have totally flanderized her and other stuff too.
Like Injustice.
Convergence.
Yeah, when the Blue Beetle movie was coming out, it showed the comics you could read to know. Yeah, exactly. It's that same. See,
in the case of Jaime, there's like a handful that you can use.
See, here's the thing. I've long said that that's what the DC film should at least do, is point to, here are the books that influence the movie. That way, if you're interested, you can go pick them up. And I will say, credit to James Gunn. That started as when he was influential at DC, because even he said, I'm going to make it so like you know what books influenced it, so you can pick up these books. And look what happened when he announced the slate. Yeah, Woman of Tomorrow went from in the dollar bins to sold out.
Yep, you had that.
Warren Ellis, The Authority.
Oh yeah, I still have the omnibus.
Mm-hmm. I got the Absolute Edition. Flashpoint made Wonder Woman's image deplete. Like, bro, I didn't make her such a cold-blooded character when she wasn't in the when she wasn't cold-blooded in the comic. I know, but that was the part that because Robert, you know what's kind of funny? I read the omnibus for Flashpoint after watching the movie, like years after watching the movie. So I'm flipping through it, and I get to Wonder Woman's part, and I'm like,
that Wonder Woman did still stab Billy.
No, she didn't.
I thought everyone keeps on thinking that was her.
Nope, that was a different Amazon.
And why do people keep thinking that was her who did it?
Because people don't pay attention.
Well, Ed and the outfit look very similar, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I checked it. It is definitely not Diana. In fact, you know what? I'll go check.
I'll check too. But let's be honest, though. It is easy to make the mistake, is what I'm saying, though. So the artist should have been very different.
Yes, it is, and that's fair. That's fair. But I am going to check this with my omnibus because this is one of those things that I'm like, yeah, this.
Okay, that's why I wanted to check. All right, because that's what I was like.
And by the way, we at Comics League believe in actually checking our work.
And I understand.
Yep, there you go.
I'm looking myself.
I'm finding that. All right, okay, so that's
I'm on read all right now.
I'm flipping through trying to find the part where they're at the battle.
Okay, I see it, and it is way too similar. But you're right.
Yeah, but it ain't Diana.
No, you're right. It's not. It's not Diana, but the outfit is way too similar. Yeah, Diana said he's just a boy.
Yeah.
But they don't make it clear who this is.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They don't make it clear who this is. It's just some Amazon running up and randomly stabbing him for no reason.
Yeah, and then in the movie, they falsely represented that as Diana.
Because, again, I'm pretty sure... I'm on the deluxe, so let me look through if there's anything like a script or something that says it.
That looks nothing like Diana.
I bet the helmet throws you off thinking...
No, the helmet looks nothing like Diana. She doesn't even have the same armor.
I looked it over. I just said, it's similar enough.
It was an Enchantress, Cameron. No.
Yeah, like I said, you look at it, you see the cloak, you see again, the helmet is different. But again, we don't know who this Amazon is or anything like that. It's just so like, what happened? And why?
Yeah.
Why did they stab it? Again, that's the part that makes no sense.
They also changed the reason why Wonder Woman killed Mira.
Oh, yeah. They had to truncate it for the movie. Yeah.
But they could have just said, oh, Mira tried to assassinate her. And instead they made it where Wonder Woman's an adulteress. But, yeah. Hey, Tavi, we're having a members Q&A panel. But so why not make it Artemis or Nubia? That would make more sense. They could have done it as Artemis.
Yeah, again, I'm looking through it. So many people keep thinking it's Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Tavia, rewind the stream.
Yeah, rewind the stream, Tavia. All right,
But yeah, it's one of those things where so again, when I was reading that, I was like, repeatedly, Wonder Woman is constantly like, this has gone too far, to the point where she even goes onto Arthur's ship and goes, okay, I know there's no good blood between, I know we have a lot of bad blood between us, but trust me, this whole war, we have been manipulated.
Exactly. And like I said, and then you have the point where she goes, he's just a boy. Again, everywhere, Villain Wiki, DC Wiki, everywhere keep saying it was Diana who did it.
Because they're going after, this is why I don't trust the wikis. This is why I don't trust, because they're going off of the animated movie and assuming, well, the animated movie must be right. And I'm like, nope.
And I agree. No, and I agree. And
God damn it, Jay Oliva.
Again, but like I said, I'm looking over it. Well, to be fair though, it was the director of the Wonder Woman movie, the animated movie, that did the whole hanging Steve bit.
Which I don't think they. I think the way the comic did that is that they faded away. As though they didn't show what happened there.
Yeah, in this case, he just shows like.
Mm-hmm.
They really wanted to emphasize it.
Which I would love if they released like one of those like lenticular pages of that scene, so I could relive him dying many times.
Right,
that'd be great. But yeah, it's essentially that, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, this is nothing like the movie. And honest, because here's the thing, it's just more of like when they adapt Diana, they tend to emphasize too much on the warrior side. That's what they're going for.
Unfortunately, Jeff Johns didn't help out with that.
You know what's also interesting? When Jeff Johns wrote her in
it was Wonder Woman's aunt.
Penthesilea? No, she was dead at that point.
Well, that's the only hint I can find about it.
Because because the way the war actually started is they were getting married, Arthur and Diana, and then Penthesilea and Orm contrived to make it like the Amazon, like one of the others had tried to attack. And Tavia, we just talked about that. We just talked about Hush.
Yeah, we just talked about that. Tavia. We'll probably get back to it a little bit, but
yeah, we will.
But yeah, but to be fair, she's the only one that makes sense to stab Billy.
Yeah, well, you could have just picked Artemis, Nubia, or any of those Amazons, and you would have. Or how about this? It's just a random Amazon on a battlefield.
But the emphasis on it makes no sense. That's the problem with it.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of problems with Flashpoint.
She comes out of nowhere and just stabs him, and that's it. It's like, what?
Exactly. But anyway, so you know what? Let's go back to Hush 2. So basically what this is, guys, I know you guys are smart enough to not think this, but I'm just going to, for anyone watching this does not mean that that Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee are going to be the main Batman writer and artist. No, this is just a story arc. And by the way, at this point, when they come on, the Zdarsky run is ending, I believe.
In fact, technically, it should have ended a few issues ago. He just stayed on a little longer to give him time. Okay, so in other words, as soon as they go out onto him, it's done. Yeah, so we'd have to get someone else afterwards. Now, Grant, Hush got extended a little bit more. Originally, it was going to be 6. Now it's a full 12. Mm-hmm.
Tevia says, question, speaking of Flashpoint, Batman was adapted properly in the movie. Yeah. Flashpoint Batman was pretty much that Batman. That was good. Okay, actually, it says here it's going to have 6 issues this year and then another 6 next year. Oh, that's cool. QT Comics says, have you read Creature Commandos and is it better than the show? I haven't read the comics yet because I'm not really that interested in the group. But Hush is making his return. I don't know how to feel about that. Yeah, I don't know yet until I at least read a couple of issues of the new Hush thing. Dini did way more for Hush than Loeb ever did. Mm-hmm. And Cameron says, Hush never grabbed me as a villain. Read Dini. Read Dini stuff. Read the Hush Omnibus. Yeah, at least try that out and then get back to me on if you don't like Hush. Fans on Hush's characterization. And to be fair, I'm pretty sure Loeb will at least acknowledge that. I don't think he's going to disregard what Dini did because they both work in Hollywood. I'm pretty sure he respects Dini. Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. But so what other books do you guys want to talk about, or do you guys want to see? So for Free Comic Book Day, they're doing another absolute all-in flip book. An actual free one, yes. So what I think that probably is going to be like the halfway point, and they're going to be like, okay, now we're going to ramp up the story. Halfway point would have been 1 year in, not remember, it's a 2-year contract, not contract or so. Because I thought they said it was like a 1-year story thing. Oh, 2-year story. They made it a 2-year story, which is similar to what Ultimate is doing. Okay, so what it could just be is like checking in on like the main plot of the universe to see what's going on. Exactly. So obviously, all they're doing now is setting things up. Because here's how I look at it. This is why I think it is 2 years. First 6 issues, introduce the characters and set things up. Second half of the first year is to actually get them acclimated with the rest of the universe. And that's throughout the entire second year is when you start having more of the interactions, crossovers, and building up the plot. So you mean essentially this upcoming all-in special could be like setting up the Absolute Trinity actually meeting? Either that, or it's going to be hinting off to what's going on in the greater universe that obviously the individual series aren't able to focus on. Yeah, and that works. By the way, New Gods is great. I'm just going to tell you that right now. New Gods by Ram V is fantastic. Talk about an interesting, bringing in a new baby and having it happen off screen and yet not missing a beat. Yeah, exactly. I like that. The art is solid. I like a lot of the stuff with Orion, how Orion has to kill Scott's kid.
But, and you know what? It seems like they are having a little bit of a lean on the Mr. Miracle stuff, but not fully. They didn't do the whole standing thing, but you could tell that tone was there, that energy was there.
Yeah, and King basically said he left it ambiguous as to if it's canon or not.
It ain't, because otherwise you'd have their other kid around.
So that's true. QT says I'm waiting for Absolute Wonder Woman issue 4. Absolute Wonder Woman has been like really, really, really solid.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I looked through the different other free comic book day ones. They're bringing back an old kid comic character from a couple years ago, Hero Bear.
Okay.
Think of it like Calvin and Hobbes, but with a more of a superhero edge to it.
Oh,
yeah, Hero Bear is the guy who did that Billy Batson and the Power of Shazam series that fit into the Jeff Smith Shazam book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's the guy who did that.
I like that. So, all right, let me ask you this, Robert. In terms of Absolute Wonder Woman, what do you think of the whole arm thing?
I like it.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, okay, that's an interesting way to do it. It's in character for Diana to do that for someone, ignoring that. That's why I told Britt, ignore that it's Steve. Is this not in character for Diana to do this? And she was like, yes.
Well, not right. If she gains a connection with them, I do think. I don't think she would do it haphazardly, willy-nilly.
Well, I mean, yeah, if she was wanting to, like, sacrifice so they could go home, yeah, I still say it would be, like, in character with Diana.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and Tevya, good question. Love the first issue.
I haven't read it yet. It's on my list. I got to go pick it up at the store.
All you know is that it's the kid is Andy.
Yeah, I know it's the kid. We had a little confusion recently.
So once you have the red hair, that the way the hair is designed does look more feminine. Something about the color does make it fit. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I love Mira teaching Arthur like how to use his new powers and all that.
Her powers.
Yeah, because it's her powers. She's like feel the water and stuff, and I'm like, oh, that is actually really cool.
They swapped each other's powers. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. I really dig that, and it's really see that's when the whole power swapping thing is actually done pretty decently.
Right, but as I mentioned, I think I mentioned to you before we got started that they also have hinted at that Mark Russell and the All Reds are going to be doing their age trilogy with a Wonder Woman age or whatever. I think it's going to be called Wonder Age.
I'm picking that up.
I think it's going to be called Wonder Age.
That would be dope. I would be so cool with
that. Or Golden Age. Which one do you think is more likely, Wonder or Golden Age?
Sensational Age.
That doesn't come off the tongue well compared to Space and Dark Age.
True. Space, Dark, Wonder Age could be that one.
Or Golden Age.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and
I would say do Wonder Age because that one's a little bit more on theme to the character.
That's true.
Because Golden Age is too general. It could apply to any one of those three.
But she wears gold.
Yeah, but all these characters are Golden Age characters.
True. But of course, it would be set in the Golden Age because it's supposed to go back that far.
Yeah, but if it were like a Trinity book, not the bad Trinity, the group Trinity. Yeah, exactly. If you guys have read John Ridley's Action.
I read the first issue, and mind if I tell you one bit? I already told you off screen about this. Might I bring it up here?
Go ahead.
Now, it's vague. Obviously, we know what he's trying to reference, but it's vague enough that it can just be glossed over. There's a point where Superman says, only one ever time have I ever wanted to heat vision someone. And we know he's referencing that red and blue story. Good. But, again, there's no author note, no nothing. It's vague enough.
Do not reference that crappy story ever.
It's Ridley's own it's the best. So, of course, in his mind it is. But like I said, it's not a direct reference. So, you can leave that vague enough, thankfully. That was good
Who
timing.
knows?
That was good timing.
Yeah, I literally had it as you were getting into it because I knew what you were saying. I was picking out which clip. Then I had my mouse like hovering over.
But that timing was perfect.
Yes, it was.
I am most torn on it, and yet it's an interesting story for him to go over. But it's just I'm torn on it. It's the whole notion of a villain who gave Superman his word and he just simply gave up trying to do good, and Superman doesn't know how to handle that idea. Not a bad thing, but it shouldn't be this late in his career.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar to the Rainbow Rowell backup story.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like something that should have been told a lot sooner and set in the past, not in the present.
Oh, you mean the one that basically made it out like Lois only got the Pulitzer and like the renown for covering Superman?
Which we know that's not the case.
According to DC, it is.
Well, to be fair, it could be just Lois, how she looks at it.
Editorial had to green light it.
That does, dude.
This is one of those rare times I love me some editorial.
All right.
Yeah, I'm only kidding, of course, but yeah. So there's that, and yeah, I've been just checking out some stuff. I read Trial of the Catwoman by Ed Brubaker. I got the mini edition.
The Darwin Cook.
Really good.
I've been going over Rom Space Knight.
There you go.
And I've been going back over the White Knight verse, and I gotta say, that deserves an animated adaptation.
That would be dope. Oh, man. Yes, it does.
That deserves it. And you know what I would love to see for how they handle Joker?
What?
Troy Baker voices him as Jack, and Mark voices him as Joker.
Oh, okay. That could work.
Because let's be honest, Mark can't do Jack anymore. His own normal voice is too much. Having a bit of Joker slips through too much.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Robert, so you know how I have DC DC Universe Online?
Mm-hmm. Oh, what's that?
They sent me, if you have like the Ultra tier, they send you a free trade paperback, and I got Birthright. We don't. He's getting his Birthright. Probably signed, knowing him.
Where is it? First printing.
Of course.
And
I knew it was signed.
Mark Waid. And also commentary tracks at the end. Is that including yours?
Mine has an afterword, and yeah, it has some commentary. Wait, hang on. I think I have that.
Reimagining the Man of Tomorrow.
Yep, I have it.
All right.
I also have the hardcover version of this. It was either this or like the Batman Who Laughs series, and I already got that one. Nice.
Love that.
And then obviously I've been reading some more amalgam and stuff, and that's really great. I love that.
Really good.
That omnibus is fantastic. I'm so glad I got it.
Yep. Same here, and I'm glad I got the two issues too. But I gotta say though, going back over the White Knight verse it's interesting how it's such a fresh take. It's like it's something that Pika and I we just recorded going over the first mini. And I realized it's a story that needed to be told, but you could never tell in the mainstream continuity. Deconstructing Batman in an interesting way.
Yeah.
It's like when you really think about it, it is a story that needed to be told. At least the first mini did. This whole notion of, for example, the rich people taking advantage of Batman smashing up places, and they're able to get money on the dollar and everything.
Yeah, that's really great. QT also says Absolute Superman has been good too. Yes, it has. Oh my gosh, yes.
And I gotta say though, that feels like the one. I think that's gonna be the story where, despite the changes, it's gonna be the soonest to get closer to the main status quo. Because you already tell it's a case where, because it's Superman, things are already trying to write stuff. Like Lois finding out, despite being a soldier, she has a knack for writing. Stuff like that. I think that's an intentional bit. But I guess, what is your whole opinion on the entire White Knight verse?
I've only read Curse of the White Knight and White Knight. I haven't read Beyond yet, but of that, yeah, I like how one of my favorite parts is how it incorporates all of the Batmobiles, and like they reference each of their things. Oh, the Tumbler is a bridge laying vehicle. Go with the Tumbler, and I'm like, oh, that's dope. I love that.
And I gotta say this: when Sean Murphy has an error, he actually rolls with it. Like him screwing up and having Jason be the first Robin. Whoops.
Yeah, and it's like, well, first off, is it that much of a screw up because it's an Elseworlds book?
But that was a royal screw up that B.O. Boy, even he kicks himself for it.
All right, well, still, you got a pretty decent story into it, and that still worked.
But yeah, it also feels like Dick. It's like we have two Jasons because Dick has a lot of Jason in his attitude.
And I'm gonna echo what you said about Harley Quinn. I really like. I like how like Harley shows up, and at first it's like the Margot Robbie Suicide Squad Harley, and then it's like that's like a Harley that like Joker just replaced main Harley with, and he didn't notice.
Now, I also like those. She's more Harley. Here's how I look at it. She's 80% Harleen, 20% Harley. Then there's a point where Harley more dominated, but by most of her life, she's been 80% Harleen. And as shown, obviously you haven't read it, but in the Batman White Knight Presents Harley Quinn stuff, I know what we find out. She knew Jack before he was the Joker.
Oh, really?
In fact, they were very close. She still studied him. She wrote a paper on him, though. He found out and felt like, were we dating just so you can write about me? No, it wasn't the case. But it's just like, what else could she do? And, things like that. And then Batman, as shown in reference, he knew Harley. Harley kept Joker in check.
Okay.
Always. Until the Jason incident. But still, always kept him in check. And like I said, just the fact. Also, where else could you ship Batman and Harley and have it make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Don't tell Bruce Timm.
Dude, he wouldn't do that. I don't think he'd be up for that.
Well, he had Batman with Batgirl.
Again, we've been over this, dude.
And he had Batman with Wonder Woman.
No. He was not in charge during that point.
The only thing I will say, though,
Batman doesn't do ships.
There you go.
Right. But don't say no. That was McDuffie more in charge at that point.
Yeah.
Not Tim.
Which is hilarious because when you read like Justice League by McDuffie, he didn't do that.
Because that was in continuity. He's not going to put in there everything continuity.
No, but I've seen writers that want to at least tease it. He didn't even tease it.
Because Superman's married and Batman has his own stuff going on. And
didn't stop Rucka.
That's true. But yeah,
Blackest Night out of nowhere.
McDuffie didn't use Diana that much.
True. That is true.
Because unfortunately, he was during that point when editorial kept on shifting around the character. Like, oh, you can use this. Oh, wait, you can't use it. We're doing it over here. You can use these. Oh, wait, you can't use them. It's like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Also, using Duke in White Knight, and you're like, wait, this is a completely different character.
Yeah, because it's like, remember, it's kind of funny about Duke because I only really see Duke when Scott Snyder was writing Batman.
Yep, but I will also say this though but did you know that originally Sean Murphy was the one who was supposed to be drawing Last Night on Earth?
Really?
But because of White Knight verse, it took him away, and that's why Capullo did it. Because you remember, there was books and issues that's like that short story of Batman in this future and everything that set up the whole notion of Batman keeps on reliving through clones and all that.
Mm-hmm.
He drew that one.
Mm-hmm.
Where was Jim Drake? He doesn't exist.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He doesn't exist in the White Knight verse, which is fine.
Yeah, I'm like, you don't need every Robin to show up.
We don't have Damian.
Yeah, exactly.
And what do you think about the big twist at the end of Beyond?
What is it?
Okay, so we already know we have Old Man Bruce. Turns out the League never existed until then. Superman has only just been sighted and believes to be the start of an alien invasion. And Diana works for the FBI.
Interesting.
Now, she unfortunately in the Generation Joker book, she is written a little bitchy. A little, not total.
Okay, so let me see if I have this straight. So in the White Knight verse, up until Beyond,
The end of Beyond, yes.
there are no other superheroes. It's just Batman.
No, just Batman. They're not going to show up
cool.
they're not going to show up until the next mini. And this is old man Batman.
That's actually really cool. That's unique. I like that.
Yeah, it is. That's because, again, just played out that way. And he soon decided to look at it like, I never referenced the League. What if that's actually intentional?
That actually would work. That's actually really cool. I like that.
Yeah. But
There's any number of ways that Bruce can still be Batman, as we saw with
he's not that old. He's not that old in here.
He's not that old. Isn't he more like Ben Affleck's age or like slightly older?
Slightly older, yes. Definitely slightly older. He's gray-haired and everything by this point. Basically, let me put it this way. It's enough that the Harley's kids were born and cursed. They're teenagers by the time of Beyond. Yep. The very last page of Beyond.
Superman.
Yep. That's when Superman is there. It says that there's this kid in Kansas who could do some amazing things. And there's only one thing we know for certain. He's not from around here.
Yeah, I love that. Show me Diana.
Oh, okay. Put it up. Previous page.
So that's Wonder Woman.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, yep. And
do we see her in the Wonder Woman outfit or just like that?
Just like that so far. I mean, they did this right at the end. Right at the very last issue. She just shows up right after they dealt with Power, Derek Powers and everything.
Which, yeah, and that's fine because when they do the next chapter, I'm sure he'll like have them actually be the League and stuff.
Yep. And guess who turns out is one of the leaders of the director of the CIA or FBI.
Amanda Waller. Luther!
Yep, Luther. Director Luther.
That is actually really good. I like that.
The Generation Joker. The whole idea here is that the Joker is an AI now, living as an AI, trying to help his kids by being in the Batmobile's AI system or computer.
So he's Jarvis.
Pretty well, but given how it happened in Cursed, how else are you going to do it, right? And it's just Jack.
Oh, okay, that works.
Yep. Also,
that was also one of the coolest things about White Knight. It's like the Joker all of a sudden goes sane and he does more for Gotham than Batman did.
But he still did wrong.
That's why
I love best about that story. It's allegorical politics and everything. Making an allegory of it. Like, yes, a lot of stuff like, social media, JW, talking about minorities, but it fits in the story.
And by the way, Tavia, we said director of the CIA, not FBI.
Or FBI, I forget which.
It would be more hilarious if he's the director of the FBI since Diana's in the FBI.
That's what Robin, that's Red Hood's Robin.
Oh yeah, because Red Hood shows up in that.
And she is thick, isn't she?
Yeah. Interesting. Is that a character that we would know, but it's the White Knight version?
Original.
Oh, interesting. That's cool.
Yep, she's on the cover there too.
Tavia asked questions. Speaking of DC books, have you guys read Tom King's Jenny Sparks? Nope. Not interested. It was kind of funny. The minute I saw that panel of the COVID-19 thing, I'm like, nope, I'm done.
I'm waiting for the final issue just to see what the whole point is.
When is the final issue coming out?
Well, the 5 just came out, so not till next month.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh God. The more I see about that, the more I'm like, I'm not it. I don't care.
The
problem with that,
he's not British. This is the problem. He's not British enough to handle Jenny.
And yes, Cameron, that was real. That wasn't photoshopped or anything. I wish it were fake. It's not photoshopped. That is real.
Yep.
But I'm like, here's the thing. It's like you're telling. Here's the thing. I know he was trying to like do like, oh, pre 9/11 if this stuff, but here's why I say you shouldn't reference it with DC characters, because the Justice League could have stopped it.
Agreed.
It's kind of insulting to the 9/11 responders when you go, oh, this also happened in War with superheroes.
And Ridley did that before when he referenced it in other history.
Well, here's the thing. It makes sense because of how intrinsic to New York Marvel is.
It does, but Marvel, yes. I'm talking. I said other history of the DC universe.
Yeah, other history.
And that just like, that didn't happen. 9/11 did not happen to DC universe. You know what did happen?
What?
The destruction of the LexCorp Tower during Our Worlds at War.
Yeah,
that happened. Lex was president, not Bush.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I'm against that. I don't think that like DC things should like explicitly reference like real world events, because I'm like, particularly stuff that like Superman could have stopped those planes from going into the World Trade Center.
Right.
I'm like trying to put that in there. See, here's the thing. Again, Tom King is trying to force a story that doesn't make sense in a superhero universe. If this were like in the universe of like Sheriff of Babylon, that would work.
Or the Authorities world, just if it was just the Authority.
Yeah, but it's like in the regular DC universe, it's like
doesn't make sense.
There's 80 characters that could stop this easily.
Again, this could have fit in the Authority universe. It could. In the Warzone universe.
It just can't fit in the universe where the Justice League exists.
Exactly.
Because you can't tell me, here's another thing. You can't tell me Batman is not going to like, no, oh, these guys are playing to crash planes into buildings.
Exactly. Now, COVID, okay, it's a disease. And Superman's always had a hard time with diseases.
But again, it's like, but here's the thing. With DC, you literally have characters that could disperse a like inoculation over the air. So here's the thing. I'm sick of them trying to like, well, for one thing, Superman wearing a mask. And I'm like, can Superman get COVID?
Well, he can't get it, but he can still carry it. That is a good point. No, that is a fair point. He might not be susceptible to it, but that doesn't mean the disease is just going to bounce off of him.
It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
So while it might not affect his immune system, it could still be a carrier. That can happen.
Honestly, in my opinion, referencing real world stuff in Marvel, yeah. Well, because with Marvel,
the world outside your window.
Yeah, the Marvel universe is set up in that way. DC is a very idealized version of the world where this stuff doesn't happen because it's protected by gods.
Yep, exactly. Now, I could buy it happen in New 52 since Heroes didn't come out till after 9/11.
Oh, yeah. That I can get. That I'm 100% in favor. And you can, but it's like, in Jenny Sparks, it's established that the superheroes already exist at this point.
And I'm sorry, Captain Atom acting like he's thinking he's a god now. What?
Again, this is Tom King changing characters.
What does it say when even John Ridley in this Atom project is handling Atom more respectfully?
What does it say when Mark Waid is handling Wonder Woman more respectfully?
A lot of writers are handling her more respectively.
Hell, Robert, I read even Batman the Brave and the Bold because I had a 2-part story with her and Plastic Man, and I'm like, this is Wonder Woman!
Mm-hmm. Wait, Brave and the Bold?
They're still doing those Brave and the Bold books.
It just ended. 20 was the last issue.
Okay, well, in the last 2 issues, there was a 2-part Wonder Woman story.
Yep.
And I'm like,
Amazon is Wonder Woman! Even though she wasn't even in it, you can still tell it was still better. She wasn't in it that much, but I'm like, yeah, that's Wonder Woman. Yep, or in the case of Nubia being what Wonder Woman should be.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why, again, I'm like, Josie, if you're somehow watching this, please take over Wonder Woman.
No comment.
No, yeah, I know.
No comment.
Yeah, it's weird, and honestly, let me put it this way: at least with Jenny Sparks, it's mini series, so that's more to Tom King's strengths as a writer.
Black Label.
And it's black. Here's the other thing. They censor the cursing in that.
Well, no, to be fair, that's been a running gag with her to censor the cursing. And it's a gag King does too anyway.
Okay, it's just like, you don't really have to.
So I think that's the only thing salvaging it for me is that it's a black label, just like all the others. So maybe that's why you could say 9/11 happened, because it's a black label book.
Yeah, because for those that don't know, the basic rule of black label is unless the writer directly says it or like unless it sells well, it's not canon.
Which I can you think of any that are canon? Three Jokers was not canon.
It used to be, but then they like played around with it.
And then Zdarsky Holding negated it.
Yeah, Dave says Tom King is incapable of respecting characters. He just wears them like a skin suit, using them as self-inserts for his private therapy sessions. He basically said that in an interview that he uses as his own therapy.
True.
It's okay. Put it this way: he's definitely depressed based on how he writes Wonder Woman.
Fair enough, but like I said, though, looking at it, I can't think of any that are considered canon.
Let me see.
The only one that might be closest, not counting Three Jokers, is either that Birds of Prey one, that one shot, the Azzarello one shot, or the technically you could say Last Night on Earth because it's a possible future connected.
Yeah, you could kind of say that. All right. Well, the good news is that we have a new Green Lantern book called Flagship. Yes,
I loved it. And get this, I missed it in issue 18. The Guardians are back.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, okay.
It's very brief, and that I didn't care for how it's descriptive. But I'll say this though: United Planets are in disarray, which means something that Bendis created is final. It's not off the table, but it's completely been shaken up.
Also, I also saw, as a Jessica Cruz fan, I'm very happy about. Okay, can I reveal it?
Go ahead.
Spoiler alert: Jessica Cruz becomes a Guardian.
She represents the Guardians, isn't it?
Basically, but the point is,
she's basically Solek's position.
So here's the thing: it's about time they're giving her some position of importance.
I know they tried to make her a Yellow Lantern, they just ignored that.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't work because you have to have the ability to overcome to bring great fear.
I will say this though. If there's one issue I'm having is there's still a lot of unknowns that have not been cleared up.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the one thing. This whole thing with the fractured spectrum, there's not much explanation with it. It's too much of a big mystery that's been going on still too long.
We'll see. Dave says possibly the best Green Lantern run since Jeff Johns. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And
I'd say since the end of Vendetti's run, since Vendetti did still continue a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, what I told Comic Historian when he came on my show and he agreed with me on this is that, and by RIP, is that this is like the run that feels like if you read the Jeff Johns run, skipped everything in between, just went to the Jeremy Adams run, short of a few things.
Like Kyle's outfit?
Yeah, it flows really well and you could just take this as a continuation.
Exactly. Although, I'll tell you the thing is, Jeremy Adams, he's actually done stuff with Teen Lantern.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Here's the difference between a writer like Jeremy Adams on Green Lantern and Tom King on Wonder Woman. With Jeremy Adams, you can tell the dude read Green Lantern.
And he's gone from the school of Jeff Johns and Joshua Williamson.
Yeah.
Both Williamson and Adams both follow the Jeff Johns thing. That, look, why create when you could first pick from canon? Yeah,
exactly. And you can, like, expand on that.
Yeah, and Ted, I wouldn't say it made no sense, but you can skip it. Especially because the only thing that got carried over got undone Thorne's run.
Yeah, exactly. So it's more because that's what I do. I never read the Grant Morrison run because it didn't interest me. But it's like when I read this and I'm like, yes, this is the Green Lantern book I want. And that's why when they said that Jeremy Adams was doing Aquaman, I was like, yes.
He's following Jeff Johns' footsteps.
The man does his homework.
Green Lantern and now Aquaman.
Yeah, the man does his homework.
Yep. Now, also I would say this, Thorne, you might need to...
He even did Flash, remember? He did Flash.
He said that. I just said that. He did Flash, Green Lantern, and now Aquaman.
Wow.
But yeah, but the only thing he hasn't done, and he's worked with the JSA characters by helping Jeff Johns with Golden Age.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
He didn't have
Oh my
run,
gosh.
but he helped.
No, but he helped. It still counts. Oh wow.
And Flashpoint Beyond.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
He is following Jeff.
Imagine if after Mark Waid, he becomes the next Justice League writer.
He deserves it.
He could, and you know what? He could. That's a book I think he'd do fantastically on.
I think he's following Williamson's footsteps. He is becoming right next to Williamson in every regard. If you notice that.
Yeah, and by the way, can I say, speaking of Justice League, the idea of the Justice League being more coordinated and like the Justice League Unlimited, that makes sense at this point.
Long time coming.
Well, here's the thing. They've played with it in like previous runs, like in the Scott Snyder run, whenever you see a shot of the Hall of Justice, there are all these different superheroes hanging out. But this is the first time they're actually doing something with it.
And look at all the roster, and they keep those cards out. They gave Santa one.
And I like how, like, each issue is like a different roster, because if you notice, the roster in issue 1 is slightly different than the one in issue 2.
That's what Unlimited did.
Yeah.
They have all these people, and they would pick who was needed for the mission.
Yeah, and Wade did say that, like, the only characters that probably will show up every issue is, like, Superman and Wonder Woman, because they're, like, the leaders of the Justice League. And I'm like, thank you for giving Wonder Woman a prominent role.
Yep. But the one other thing you could also want to check out for the Justice League is the Philip K. Johnson's War World Saga, because that's where Taros was introduced.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to know much about him, and you'll be confused. Like, there's two things that you might need to know. One, the Guardians giving up the core to the United Nations, Nation of Planets, which they did.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened in Thorne's run, and who Taros is.
Yeah.
Those are the only things you need to figure out beforehand. Otherwise, you will be lost. I hate to say it, you will be lost.
Yeah, exactly. But pretty much, it's like, because here's the thing. That's where I went, because I read Superman War World, for instance, after this, after I started with this run. I was like, okay, he's basically the leader of the United Planets. I can read that. I'm fine. I'll just keep going from there.
Yep. And also, I just realized, you know what Williamson and Adams have both tapped into that I cannot believe they tapped into?
What?
Williamson bringing back Lena Luthor, and Adams bringing back Millennium and the new Guardians. You're like,
again, this is how I know that these two guys clearly read their stuff.
And this was as far back as not far long into post-crisis.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. See, here's the thing, and Robert, compare this. I know I'm comparing this a lot, but just bear with me. Compare this to Tom King's Wonder Woman, because which one does it seem like the writer actually cares about the character?
Adams does, of course.
Adams and Williamson for sure. Because by the way, let me put it this way: while the Superman stories haven't been like my favorite, like I haven't been like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I've been very much enjoying Dawn of DC into All-In Superman.
And then just look at the fact they brought back the Rigelians or whatever from, that gave Doomsday his outfit. He's connecting it back to Hunter Prey. Yeah,
there's so much that they're bringing in there, and I'm like, oh wow, that's actually really cool.
I have to agree with Tavy on the recent Titans issue, because you know who they just
what they do.
Now we find out a Psycho Pirate behind it, but they've made Killer Frost a villain again by having it be she feels like she became paranoid again, thanks to Psycho Pirate, but only we know it. She's thinking no one cared for me. I'm a hero a villain who got brought to Justice League and they don't trust me. And now she just decided out of the blue to attack it. They're like, you think I'm a villain? Fine, I'll be a villain. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm like, nah, Caitlin, come on.
Mm-hmm. But the other thing that I do like, by the way, is the relationship between Banshee and Jimmy Olsen.
That
I never thought I'd like that. I'm like, okay, this is interesting.
Honestly, bottom of the day, have not referenced the death of Parasite yet.
Oh yeah, he did die.
Unless he's still alive
by Doomsday.
somehow. Yeah, we haven't seen them react to that.
And so they basically brought this up in the most recent Superman issue about how like Superman has like red kryptonite inside him, so that's why he like goes kind of crazy at certain points, like where he beat the crap out of Doomsday. Yeah. I really like how they're like putting that little psychological weakness on Superman.
Yep. Yeah, the stuff with Banshee is cute. Again, Williamson is really shaking things up in an interesting way.
In a good way. And I'm enduring the Superwoman stuff because I know that's temporary. The other stuff is but I also like Supercore.
I didn't know where they were going to go with this. And then we have Lex, who they're going to have. It's like, I feel bad for Lex that he's going to have to remember soon.
Oh yeah, that is also really cool. Like in the most recent, yeah, you know it's gonna happen, but it's kind of heartbreaking because you see Lex, he's a sweetheart.
Yeah, but he's just like, I don't like that's me. Knowing what I'm like, I don't like him.
Yeah,
and now granted, it's a little cliche that we know it's coming, and it just makes you feel like, oh come on, but at the same time, I like it still.
Yeah, exactly. Now, let's see.
And one thing I will always praise Williamson for, having Red Mist get beaten up a couple issues back.
Mm-hmm.
You remember Red Mist from Bendis' run? Just having her be beaten up by wasn't it Banshee, I think?
I think so.
Oh, no. Wasn't Banshee, it was Livewire.
Yeah, I love that.
Livewire never stays fully a villain, really. I feel like ever since he's introduced, ever since Busick had her help out right after her, not long afterwards, and then even towards the end when you get Chris Robertson, have her actually become a good guy wearing Superman's, old electric blue suit. It feels like you have a lot of writers who feel like she's not that bad a villain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I kind of like that, putting that in there. Yep. So yeah, I think that's a good place to leave it for for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this stream, and next member stream will be the regular time. But in the meantime, Robert, where can we find you, and what have you got coming on your channel?
You can go to my channel, youtube.com/Willin, WILLIN, and I'm building up towards ever closer to my 500th lesson.
Hell yeah, great job, dude.
Civil War versus Civil War 2.
I can already tell which one's the better one.
It might surprise you because I've been going back over it, and it's hard to actually say.
Mm-hmm. For me, so for Comics League, for movie night, we're going to be watching Ultimate Avengers 2. And then for Super Wonder Legacy, Britt and I are going to be discussing if the secret identities for Superman and Wonder Woman are needed now in like this time period. For Wonder Woman Wednesday, I'm going to be discussing my top 5 Wonder Woman villains. And before you say anything, I mean comic book villains. Because obviously, if I were to do actual villains, DC editorial, Tom King, and Peter J. Tomasi would be on that list. I had to say that for Robert. But, so yeah, that's what we got. Stay heroic, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lame, and Steve Trevor, Steve Never. She belongs to General Zod. He belongs 6 feet in the ground. Zois and Max about for life. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.